like you have no home, but know how you're hurting. You're never alone. Sometimes you gotta do it hurt. You gotta do it scared. You gotta find a way. Hurt is the start, but it ain't the end. Wounds can heal, even times a friend. Hurting, living, loving, that's the road I'm running. Every scar, every tear makes the picture clearer here. Shadows dance when the lights go dim. Every lost writes a verse within. I carry the weight, but it's teaching me. Every crack lets a light break free. Hurting, living, loving, that's the road I'm running. Every scar, every tear makes a picture clearer here. No rewind, no easy way out. Life's a maze, it's a scream, it's a shout, but the fire inside is worth the fight, even in the dark. I'll find the
Hi, I'm Chris Charlie, and this is Hurting, Living, Loving, Healing. So today we're going to talk about inner peace. And the reason why we're going to talk about inner peace is that for me, it was the precursor to happiness. And I don't mean just being happy. I was a pretty happy kid. I had friends. I laughed a lot. I did fun things. Being a kid, the natural state for me was fun. I really geared things towards fun. And I know that there's a lot of kids that had their childhood robbed and they took on responsibility really early. So transitioning from a child to an adult could have even been more difficult. Or maybe maybe they learned more tools, or maybe they set lower expectations for happiness. I don't know. Maybe all of the above, maybe none of the above. But for me, as I grew and real life set in, the responsibility of a job and kids and being married, and the less and less time I had to do the things that I wanted to do, the harder it became or was to be happy because I was doing less of what I wanted to do. And so really my mental state became my own worst enemy. And because I felt this way, my internal dialogue became very abusive. And it started to deteriorate my value system. I started to devalue myself. I started to somewhere between where and where things would happen. And my brain, I filtered a negative self-talk. And I did it so slowly and over such a long period of time that I was too close to it. I didn't even realize that that was happening. And so when I zoomed out, my view of how things went from life is happening to me and I'm a victim of these things to oh, wow, I actually have some agency over these things. And so that's all happened over a long period of time. So when I went back to this exercise of self exploration, it was really using my North Star being happiness or even just contentment, and going from hating myself to I just wanted to like myself or be able to put up with myself because my internal dialogue was so negative. So inner peace was a bit of a precursor for me to happiness. And so I've got a couple points that I'm going to talk about that are things that I experienced in my journey to inner peace. And it's daily maintenance. And so sometimes I'm better at some things and worse at others. Sometimes I completely forget. And I've established this checklist of things that I need to do. And I call that my foundation. And so I think I'll do another episode that really talks about my foundational things, and it's spirituality, it's physical, it's mental, emotional, spiritual. I already said spiritual, but anyways, it's my foundation, the things that are like my checklist. This is more things that I learned along the way. And so that's what I'm going to talk about. So the first is tip or trick that I learned going through counseling, and that was start and end from a place of love. And whether it be yourself or in any relationship. And this is something that helped me in all my relationships. I was not a good communicator when things were bothering me. It was like for some reason, I was offensive. Either I wouldn't say anything and then I would just let the thing bother me and then I'd build a resentment, or I would say something and then it came out charged. And so the other person just shut down or got very defensive. So starting and ending from a place of love. And this also is really great with my kids, and it comes very naturally with them. But what that looks like is, hey, I just want to say I so appreciate your help when doing X, Y, and Z. It really helps me out, and I so appreciate it. Could I ask you a favor? If when you help me, if you could ask me instead of tell me what to do or what I'm doing wrong, then that would be easier on me, because then it makes me feel like I'm doing something wrong. Is that fair? Is that a fair ask? Because I just want to make sure that we're working cohesively. Is that something that's fair to ask? Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your help. So just starting and ending from a place of love. And so the person doesn't immediately put up their walls. And I think it's equally as important for different reasons with your own internal dialogues. I can find a million reasons why I'm not good enough or unworthy of something or not smart enough or I failed. And so to flip the script on that, it's now become easier for me to find things that I've done good. It's have to constantly remind myself to give myself compliments and credit for the things that I'm doing right in my life, because those are it's the glue for me that keeps me moving in a good direction. It's so easy for me to get stuck in a negative place and then ruminate about something that I think that I've done. And then if I don't resolve that, then it pops back up and then I get resentful, or I feel shame or guilt or whatever the case may be. So, fixing those things, talking about them early and often, and then, doing that from a place of love. So that's number one. So the next one is so, and I think right now it's a really big topic conversation, and that's loving yourself. And I think, for those of us that feel like that's difficult, the first step is liking ourselves and maybe even putting up with ourselves. But an exercise that I did for that was to stand in front of a mirror and tell myself the good things about myself. And the more good things that I started finding, to internalize, talk about, compliment myself on, the more the negative went away. They just kind of fell away. I feel like I could have one negative thing and 15 good things, and I'll spend 10x the amount of time and effort and energy ruminating on the negative thing versus the positive things. And if I find a way to be my own best friend, I start looking out for myself, and my internal dialogue becomes much healthier because, like I said, the more positive things that I find about myself, the more the negative drops off. And, I have to be vigilant with this and remind myself that I'm worth it and that if I don't give myself credit, then nobody else is going to. Um, and this transitions into the next one, which is give yourself a break from the negativity. And whether that be the internet, social media, news, I mean, that's where we are bombarded with the negativity. I mean, you turn on the news and it's like butterflies are killing humans, humans are killing humans, the weather is killing, like it's everywhere. And it's so easy to fall into that. And then it goes from the divisiveness to separation, picking teams, and for what? I mean, for what? It seemed like a decade or so ago, this brought us closer. We could learn about things that were going on and have water cooler talk at work and discuss things that we might have in common. Or if we had something that was different, then we could celebrate our differences. Now, for whatever reason, it feels like it really only tears us apart. You're on the other team. You're not on my team. And I don't know why that is, but the opposite of that would be love and acceptance. Seeing it maybe a trend here. The positive side of things, the balance on the positive side is the love, and that is kind of what connects, or the glue, and the balance for the negative. But you have to be diligent and vigilant. And part of um taking a break from the negativity is surrounding yourself with the positivity, whether that be friends or family, or even watching, if you're going to watch TV, watch positive shows, positive clips, things that are fulfilling. You will be blown away as to how quickly your brain adjusts to, if you go from watching murder shows to comedy, you will start laughing at more things quickly. Believe it. Believe the hype. It's real. So try it yourself and you'll see how much of a better mood you're in if you watch what you put into your brain. Same thing, it goes into your body. If you go from eating junk food every day to eating clean food, vegetables, you will run a lot smoother. Same thing is true with your brain and your mental health. So that's a really doable place to start. This one is, let me tell you what it is. React versus respond, or respond versus react. Um, we live in such a transactional world. We live in such a world of convenience. We live in this world where time is everything. I was ordering something on Amazon the other day and it didn't come that day or the next day. It was like a 2-day Prime delivery. And I was like, dang, I was looking for one that came faster. And that's how fast things happen for it. Everything's instant. And so with instant gratification, um, the importance of things like meditation and slowing it down is so important, because it's something that separates us from our house pets, right? And giving ourselves an extra few seconds or minutes, depending on the complexity and the importance of the situation, giving ourselves those few minutes or seconds to really actually think through how we feel about something is critical. And it's fair. It's fair to us and it's fair to the people involved. When we don't, for me, it kickstarts an emotion that can be motivationally driven. And what I mean by that is that if I feel like somebody is like, you know, hey, dude, you need to do this, right? If I feel like they weren't kind about it and I just react to that, my first reaction, even if it's a good thing, might be like, screw you, I'm not doing that. You're trying to tell me what to do. But then if they're like, hey, dude, you need to renew your driver's license, whatever, right? Like it might be some responsibility, right? It's like if my reaction is to push back, then just purely out of the conditioning or my reaction to that, it might be to not do something that is good for me or to do something that's not good for me. So give yourself the extra, minute or two, or sleep on it. That's a good one. See how you feel about it the next day. And um the tendency for me, I can make an entire narrative, an entire story out of a couple data points. I'm really good at backfilling with assumptions, with biases, with something I heard, maybe a couple of like those like unproven facts from the internet, but like give me a couple of data points and I can make a full story about that. And oftentimes when I feel my brain starting to do that, the place where I end up is judgment. And it's because I didn't give myself the benefit of getting enough information. And so I'll look at somebody who I don't know and the way this person presents themselves or something that they say, the first thing out of their mouth might be something that I just didn't hear right. But that's all I know about that person. So immediately I've got them summed up because my brain is saying, that person, we know those type of people. Do we? We know one data point about that person. A good example of this would be like, say you went to the dog park, right? And you get there and somebody comes up to you and they're like, this guy right here, Steve, punch that dog, punch the dog. And you look at Steve and you're like, Steve, you're evil, man. Dog punching dogs? And then somebody else comes up and says, well, the dog was attacking Steve's kid. And then you're like, wow, Steve went from abusive dog puncher to child saving hero, right? With one more piece of information. And somebody else comes up and says, but the kid was attacking that dog's puppies. Another piece of information, right? So there's just three little layers, three little bits of information. And if we didn't have the whole story, then we wouldn't have given ourselves, we would have just walked off going, Steve's a jerk, you know? And that story became, infinitely more complicated because there was more information involved. And the thing is like my brain wants everything to be binary, black or white, left or right, good or bad. And most things are varying degrees of this. I mean, if a dog is protecting their puppies from a child that decides to, you know, tug on their ears or whatever, and this whole thing actually happened, it played out. This is a fictional story, but if it played out, is any of that really good or bad or right? Or it's just kind of like it just is, right? Like, and I think people are so quick to assign biases and judgment. And if we just give ourselves and those people a bit of a break because everyone's just doing the best that they can. But if we come from a place of love, then we never have to question our motives. Now, we might totally screw up. We might totally, end up in one of those, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. But if you did it from a place of love and not from a place of, I'm going to retaliate or I'm like, something's in it for me, but really step back and say, like, you know, what's the right thing to do here? Then it makes things so much simpler for your internal peace of mind. Yeah, get the facts. That's, I kind of rolled into that one from give yourself time to respond, but yeah, get the facts. And how many facts, how many facts is too many facts? I mean, Do we need the forensics? Do we need to call the forensics team? Do we need to get DNA evidence? I don't think so. But I think time tends to reveal things. And if we're not in a hurry, if we're making a life-saving decision, you got to get all the facts that you can in a short period of time, right? How often are we actually in those decisions? If it's work related, sometimes we have to make a decision with the information that we have. But sometimes you can just let the information come to you. And the only thing that's really pushing for you to get that information, or me to get that information, is my brain, right? It's like, we got to make a full story. We need it's like, why? Why do I need the full picture? I could like sit back and figure it out as it comes to me. It might be uncomfortable, but it's better than responding or reacting in a way that is unfair to myself and the people involved. And I do something that compromises somebody, or I hurt somebody because I didn't have the information. And that gives me inner peace. I was at Sober Living up in Sammamish, shout out SLS. And I came outside one time, my buddies were chatting just outside of my house, and they were just bro talking. And I walked up and I was like, "What are we chatting about?" And they're like, "None of your business." And it was, for whatever reason, I just heard that as such a relief. He was joking, and I wouldn't have taken offense to it because he was joking, but it was just such a relief that, like, what they were talking about is really none of my business. And so I don't have the responsibility of making it my business. And I didn't mean to do that, but it's just the way it happened. And that always stuck with me. And so often my ego, I'm not like, I think ego's good. I think the ego just is, right? Too much of it, not great, but just the right amount, fine. And so often my brain wants me to put myself in the middle of things that I don't need to be in. Maybe I want more control over something that I don't actually want control over, but how much can I control? I might be able to influence things in some way. I might be able to control my limbs and sometimes I might even be able to control my mouth, but it's minimizing the amount of noise, negativity, drum, all that stuff, inner peace. And then the next one is, ask yourself what you're getting from something. What are the motivations for you to be doing something? Sometimes situations grow out of an action that is more emotional than logical. My actions wholly become, I'm going to stand up for this person because I didn't feel like there's justice. Like, I need to get justice. And it's like, is it my place to get justice? There was this time when I was an inpatient in Hazelden, and there was a kid there, and he came up to us and was like, "I'm getting kicked out over $600." And I was like, this is preposterous. So I'm running around trying to find $600, found the money, looking for an administrator. And I'm like, I can't believe you guys are kicking this guy out. And there's nobody there to take my money. Right. So I had to call which we were not even supposed to call, but I called my counselor on his cell phone at home at 9 o'clock. And I'm like, can you believe it? You guys are kicking him out and putting him on the street at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. And he's like, Chris, dude, what are you doing? And I was like, what do you mean? What am I doing? I'm saving a life here. And he's like, do you think you have all the information? And it just hit me like a ton of bricks that I had one very narrow side of this story. And I think that happens so often, is that if you put 300 people in a room and they all watch the same event, you might very well have 300 different perspectives and everybody thinks they're right. Right? I mean, it's just the way It happens, but it's so easy for me to assume that everybody's seeing things the same way. So check your motives, because who am I to deprive somebody of their misery? Life is a great teacher. And yeah, I think it's really great to look out for one another, especially those you love unconditionally. Yes, I'm going to do everything I can to save those people. And it's hard for somebody like me, who's like a natural people pleaser, to let people fail, to watch somebody who it's like, I see this through, I see the other side of it, but who knows? Maybe there'll be another outcome. Maybe they'll figure it out halfway through, and I've deprived them of that opportunity to learn. So what do we have? Inner peace, start and end from a place of love. Love yourself or like yourself. Find some things in start the process of loving yourself. How about that? How about we go with that? Give yourself a break from the negativity. Start wherever you can, right? Take a 1 hour. If you're like somebody who's on social media, like constantly, give yourself a 1 hour break. Then turn that into a 2 hour break. Then turn that into a day, whatever. Take a break from the negativity and then replace it with positivity. And whether that's internal dialogue or chats with friends or family or loved ones, replace it with positive. Replace the negative with positive. Give yourself time. Respond versus react, right? We're conditioned to move quickly in this transactional world. Just slow it down. Slow it down. And one of the challenges of this is like we move at the pace of our brains. If you can learn to meditate, download Insight Timer, Headspace, any of the apps, and just get to the point where you can meditate, clear your mind. It's an amazing, amazing way to learn to respond. Okay, so give yourself a break from the negativity, replace that with positive talk, give yourself time, respond versus react, get the facts. Don't cheat yourself out of the facts. Don't cheat the people around you out of the facts. It's too easy to make quick judgment when we've only got 1 or 2 data points, right? Check your motives. What are you getting out of this? And then again, start and end with love. So we started with love. Now we're going to end with love. It's been fun. I really appreciate you joining. I'm Chris Charlie, and this is Hurting, Living, Loving, Healing.
Pain can feel so lonely, like you have no home. But know while you're hurting, you're never alone. Sometimes you gotta do it hurt, you gotta do it scared, you gotta find a way. Hurt is the start, but it ain't the end. Wounds can heal, even times a friend hurting.